Hi, everyone. I am your host, Cindy, and welcome to my next episode. This episode will focus gauging financial values and preparing for those deeper commitments and connections. So, today's episode is called Dating and Dollars Building a Future Together. So, I want to share somewhat of a relatable scenario with you. So, this is assuming you are single or in a relationship and you're dating. So, imagine you've been seeing someone for a few weeks and you decide to plan a fun date at a new restaurant. The food is great, the conversation is flowing, and usually we have quite a bit of those. Or if you're lucky enough, you get quite a bit of those. And I've been through some dates where the food was great, conversation was flowing, but then when the bill arrives, there's always that brief awkward pause, like hesitation. Like it's just like a weird like feeling, right? So your date glances at the check and then you wonder, how am I going to approach the topic without making things uncomfortable? So, feeling confident, you casually say, "Hey, do you want to split it or should we take turns covering?" Now, when you say should we take turns covering, we'll assume that there's going to be another date, right? So, your date smiles, responds, "Hey, you know what? Let's split it for now, but next time it's on me." So the small exchange sets a relaxed tone and it eases any tension. But later, you reflect on how their approach felt respectful and fair, reinforcing the sense of teamwork between each other. So it's a moment that sticks with you, right? Not because of the money, but because of how it demonstrated mutual respect, the approach to it with good communication. Those little instances can truly reveal so much about someone's views and their views on partnership dynamics. So, I just want to jump right in. Let's define financial boundaries while dating. So, why is it so important to set personal financial boundaries in a relationship? Setting personal financial boundaries is vital for maintaining both individual well being and also healthy relationship dynamics. So, here is why it protects financial stability. Boundaries make sure that you don't overextend yourself financially to meet a partner's expectations or habits, because, yes, that can happen. You don't want to overly impress someone financially, especially if it's not within your means. Also, preventing resentment. Clear boundaries up front help to avoid feelings of being taken advantage of. Supporting long term goals. Financial boundaries keep your personal priorities and financial goals in place and in check, like saving for a home or paying off your debt. Just it helps you to stay on track. Encouraging healthy communication. Discussing boundaries creates open dialogue about financial preferences, your values, and your needs. Navigating differences and promoting equality, right? And prioritizing your self worth. So, when financial boundaries are clearly communicated, they pave the way for having that trust, collaboration, and long term harmony, which is what we all want. It's not just about the money, it's about mutual respect and shared growth. So, get your pen and paper ready because I want to give you some tips for identifying your own financial limits and financial priorities before diving into financial conversations with your partner. So, identifying your financial limits and priorities is super essential, and it's an important step before engaging in conversations about money. It helps you approach these discussions more with clarity and confidence and avoiding that awkwardness. So, number one, I want you to reflect on your own current financial situation. Where are you at? Do you have a ton of debt to pay off? Are you trying to save for a home? Are you trying to save for retirement? Like, what is your current financial situation? Do you have enough income to cover your expenses? Do you even have a budget in place? That is what I mean about reflecting on your own current financial situation. Then I want you to define what are your non negotiables For examples, things that you are not willing to compromise on, such as maintaining a certain savings goal. Like if you have a certain savings goal of putting, into savings $100 every month because you want to contribute to something, a vacation or whatnot, and that's a non-negotiable for you because you really want to go to that vacation or go on to that vacation spot, then that's a non-negotiable. You want to make sure you define that up front within yourself, not with your partner, but for yourself. Also, I want you to pinpoint spending priorities by thinking about what you value the most in life, whether it be experiences, security, maybe education, or even hobbies. Then I want you to set a monthly and event specific budget. So, what that means is that I want you to, if you plan on, I don't know, going on vacation in 2 months and you just met a guy or a girl and you have a specific budget for this vacation. Obviously, you probably don't plan on going with the person, but I want you to set that. I want you to establish that budget early on. Also, assess long term goals. So, if you are someone who has a goal of buying a home or maybe traveling or investing in something, I want you to assess what those goals are. Then I want you to understand your money mindset. And this is so important. Reflect on how you emotionally respond to money. Are you a saver or are you a spender? Or maybe you're in between. Then I want you to prioritize emotional boundaries, like recognizing when spending is driven by a desire to impress or please somebody, because that does happen. People have the tendency of wanting to impress someone, so they're going to buy them big things. But what if their love language is not gifts? What if it's, quality time? And here you are spending all this money on someone who doesn't even like to receive gifts. They want to just spend quality time with someone. So, understanding that is a priority. And lastly, practice articulating your preferences by rehearsing on how you might explain your limits and priorities. The conversation's going to come up. But for instance, you can say, you know what, I value my experiences, but I'm careful with my spending. Or maybe you can say, I'm working towards a big savings goal, like saving for a home. So I really prefer casual dates and not like really expensive dates. So these are just things that you can start by saying. So, having a clear understanding of your financial boundaries and priorities will allow for you to approach the conversation with authenticity and confidence. That's going to foster healthy and transparent communication, and that is key. It's all about setting yourself up for financial and an emotional well being. You want to keep that in check. So, next thing I want to talk about are goals, both individually and shared goals. Understanding the importance of discussing money goals early on in a relationship is so crucial, especially if you see your partner as potential. And it's so incredibly important because it lays the groundwork for trust. It lays the groundwork for, alignment with your values and your goals and future planning as well. And here's why it matters. So this is going to help to reveal what your core values are and what their core values are as well as avoiding mismatch expectations. Like you both are going to have expectations, but you want to be aligned, right? You don't want to find out later that you guys don't align. That's what I'm referring to as mismatch expectations. Also, building a foundation of trust, supporting long term planning, encourages financial teamwork. It prevents future stress, obviously, and promotes healthy habits. So, approaching these conversations on finances early on in a very casual and open manner, it will help to ensure that your relationship is built on a strong foundation of mutual understanding. And it's okay to, everybody's not perfect. It's okay that you're not compatible. That just means you're not compatible with each other, so move on. So, examples of individual goals. versus shared goals. And I want to be clear, like, everyone's financial goals are deeply personal and they reflect their own financial priorities, values, and their dreams and where they see themselves, 3 to 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now. Individual goals could be like maybe you're saving for a vacation, maybe you're saving for a wedding or a special event or occasion. Maybe it's setting a monthly budget or tracking your expenses. Maybe it's building an emergency fund or paying off your debt. Maybe it's even starting a small business or a side hustle or contributing to maybe a retirement fund. Those are all examples of individual goals. Now, shared goals could be maybe you're saving for a joint vacation together. Maybe you guys talked about going to Europe and that's something that you need to save together. Budgeting for shared experiences like going to a concert, maybe even, some dinner dates if you choose to go to a fancy restaurant. Like those are shared experiences. Also, splitting costs for household improvements or new furniture. If you decided to move in together and you're already in a relationship where, you're living together, splitting the cost, those are shared goals. Also, planning and budgeting for major events like a wedding. Maybe you're going on a wedding, going to a wedding together, or paying off shared debt. Maybe there's something that, you pulled out, a credit card to fund for some furniture that you're both going to be using. Well, that's paying off shared debt. That those are examples of shared goals. Now, shared goals not only enhances financial harmony, right? Because that's what we ultimately want. We want peace, but also it deepens the emotional connection as you work towards achievements together. I mean, those are small wins, those are things that can help build your relationship. Balancing both individual and shared financial goals can also strengthen your relationship by fostering collaboration, working together, mutual support and mutual respect for each other and each other's priorities. And there is a balance between that and how to approach this practically. So you want to make sure that you communicate openly about your goals. Be upfront, be honest about what your goals are. Create a joint vision together. So if you are at the point where you see potential in this partner, you see, a lifelong relationship with this person, then you want to talk about your visions together and be on the same page. Also, respect individual priorities and goals. It is so important that if you do not have the same goals, because more than likely you won't, then you need to respect each other's priorities and goals. If you are debt free, but your partner has a ton of debt, respect that they have maybe a debt payment plan to pay off their debt by a certain amount of time. That is respecting each other's goals. Also, set separate and joint budgets together, especially if you're already serious in dating. You want to make sure that you produce a budget together, something that can be shared. Divide responsibilities fairly, especially if you live together. Make sure you split the cost, especially fixed costs like utilities or mortgage. Also, celebrate milestones together. It's so important that when you hit a milestone, celebrate them together. Adapt to life changes and emphasize quality time together. Okay, so now I want to talk about knowing when to walk away because I feel like this is not talked about enough. And I feel like just with me speaking to other women, I feel like it's really hard to walk away, especially when you find yourself dating someone who is such a great guy, right? Like you have a good connection, there's great chemistry, and you guys have a lot of fun together, but you guys just don't align financially. And that is so important, especially if you value your finances, as top priority for yourself because you work hard and you work hard for the things that you have. You work hard to be where you need to be. You have financial goals and priorities, and you want your partner to be on the same page, be just as ambitious as you are and driven. Knowing when to walk away is so important. Recognizing red flags in financial compatibility when values or habits do not align early on can help avoid misunderstandings and conflict later in the relationship. So, Here are just some signs to be observant of, and this is for man or woman. This is not specifically just for women when women know to walk away. This is also for you men out there too. If you're a man and you're listening to this episode, this is also for you. These are signs that you need to look out for. So, the first sign is when your partner avoids money conversations. If your partner is unwilling to discuss finances or becomes, defensive, it may indicate a lack of transparency or discomfort with the topic, which could lead to communication issues. So, and possibly being deceptive. So, you want to make sure you look out for that. That's a red flag if your partner avoids having any money conversations. Secondly, significant difference in spending habits. If your partner is a big spender and you are extremely frugal, that can definitely create some tension. So that's a red flag. Thirdly, being consistent financial instability. So while setbacks happen, and that's a given, setbacks can happen. Somebody can lose their job, somebody can have a huge expense that they weren't expecting. Frequent instances of maybe they forgot to, an unpaid bill, maybe they forgot to pay their bill, maybe they ignored some debt, or the inability to manage money just in general, like if their credit card declines, that is financial instability. That is a setback, and I get it. It happens, but if the pattern repeats itself and it's frequent and you see it, I'm telling you, you need to walk away. That is a red flag. You need to walk away. Now, the next thing is secretive behavior. When you find that your partner is hiding purchases or debt they didn't want to disclose or financial decisions, that signals a lack of trust and openness. So go with your instinct. If you find that your partner is hiding something, that is a red flag. You need to walk away. Also, incompatible money goals and reluctance to share costs. I feel like incompatible money goals, if you're not on the same page money wise, like with your goals and wanting to be somewhere, for instance, if you were someone who wants to buy a home, you want to save some money and you see potential in your partner, but your partner is just like, you know what, I'm okay with renting, I'm good where I'm at, though you're not on the same page. Also, reluctance to sharing costs. If your partner is like always saying, oh, well, shouldn't you cover? Shouldn't I believe in traditional old school men paying it forward and covering, the cost early on. But I mean, come on, at some point you've got to give in your share as well as a woman to also share the cost. It doesn't matter. Also, overspending in certain areas. You find yourself, with your partner, like continuously overspending, setting a budget and then overspending. That's just irresponsibility financially. Also, when your partner disregards financial boundaries, pressuring you to spend beyond your means, or knowing you live paycheck to paycheck, knowing that you have financial goals, but yet still pressures you to spend beyond your means, or even ignoring your budget preferences, that shows lack of respect for your financial well being. Also, lack of financial responsibility, refusing to plan for the future. They're okay with where they're at in life. And if it's not okay with you and they refuse to plan for the future, or neglecting their savings or disregard financial obligations, that signals potential challenges in managing long term goals together. That's a red flag. And lastly, unbalanced power dynamics. Using money to control decisions or situations of the relationship will reflect in an unhealthy dynamic and should be addressed carefully and immediately. You do not want to bump heads. You want to be on the same page. So while no one is perfect, and I get that, no one is perfect, but consistent patterns in these type of behaviors might indicate challenges in financial compatibility. And again, it's about being compatible, it's about being the right person for each other. Addressing concerns openly and thoughtfully can really help to determine whether you are on the same page or if deeper differences need resolving. And if you really care about the person and you really see potential in that person, take that opportunity to have that deep conversation with that person. So, how to make tough decisions to step back when financial differences threaten the relationship. So this is important because making this decision to step back is never easy. It's super hard, and I can contest to that. Like, it is so hard to step back, but it's often necessary to protect your long-term well-being. And here is how to approach this decision, okay? So I want you, again, this is from a man or woman's perspective. I want you to assess the impact on the relationship first. So, for instance, if your partner is causing persistent tension or even resentment or an imbalance in trust or respect, then you need to reassess the impact on your relationship. How serious are you with this person? Also, clarify your boundaries. Revisit your financial priorities and your limits. Does your partner have habits or goals that are consistently clashing with your values? And if so, you need to take a step back and reevaluate your relationship. Also, prioritize open communication. Have an honest but calm conversation about your concerns. Consider the long term outlook. Do you see yourself with this person? Imagine how financial differences might impact your future together if you guys were to live together. Evaluate efforts to adapt. Maybe you need to reevaluate the relationship. Maybe you need to focus on yourself first and be reevaluate the relationship and the impact. And can you adapt? Can you compromise? Can they compromise? But trust your instincts. Overall, pray about it and trust your instincts. Learn from the experience. Reflect on lessons from the relationship. What did you value the most, and what do you need in a partner? What do you need to look out for moving forward? Always reflect. If it's time for you to step back, because choosing to step back can be difficult. Trust me, it can. And it could probably be emotional, especially if you're emotionally attached to the person. But recognizing when financial differences are threatening the relationship can ultimately lead to greater peace, greater calmness, and alignment in your life. So, your financial well being is important, as so is what you value in life. Always keep that top of mind. Okay, so I want to recap with some key takeaways from this episode. We talked about setting personal financial boundaries and how essential that is because it paves the way for that equal, mutual trust, collaboration, long-term harmony in a relationship. Also, identifying your financial limits and your financial priorities early on is an essential step before engaging in conversations about money. Understanding what your values are and what you want in a partner first. And we talked about individual versus shared goals, and balancing both can strengthen your relationship by fostering collaboration, mutual respect, and support for each other. Also, we talked about recognizing red flags, recognizing when to walk away. Consistent patterns in these red flag behaviors might indicate challenges in financial compatibility, and that's okay if you're not compatible. So, I want to leave you with this. Approach dating with a mindset that considers both love and financial compatibility. Compatibility is super important. So that is all for this episode. I know it was a little bit more lengthier than the others, but I still invite you to follow me on Instagram, Prosperity and Grace, for more tips and updates that I post there. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Apple Music or Spotify. I actually upload my podcast episodes automatically to those platforms. So I don't want you to miss out on any of my next episodes because next week, as I close out the month, I am going to give you a sneak peek into the next month's podcast series discussing finances and relationships, or dating before marriage. So this is for those that are all like either you're about to get engaged or you really see that potential in somebody and you're serious. So somewhat similar to this series that I had, which was finances and premature dating, or at the very beginning phases of dating. But now this time, I want to talk about relationships that are serious relationships. This next series will focus more on relationships that are headed for marriage. So you're either whether you're engaged or not, but you're headed towards marriage. You definitely want to tune in the next following month, but be on the lookout for next week's sneak peek into what I will be talking about. So until then, take care and God bless.